y'all's time. Again, we appreciate you being here. And yeah, we're excited to get to talk with you all about internships. All right, it is officially 12:03, so we're going to go ahead and jump into things. Thank you all so much for joining us for this Career Readiness Spring 2024 workshop on internships, specifically focused on things in education, social sciences, and communications. So we're going to go ahead and get the ball rolling. Just so you do know, like, if you find this information useful for yourself, maybe you have some friends in some different majors or that have other interests. We still have a couple internship workshops coming up. It will have similar starting information, but then the tailored resources will be specific to government, public affairs, justice, law, and international affairs on Monday at 6 p.m. on Zoom. And then our last one will be Humanities, Languages, and Arts on Wednesday, the 31st at noon on Zoom. So let's go ahead and jump into things. You're here for internship searching, and I'm really excited to get to talk with you all about education, social sciences, and communication related opportunities. So welcome, everyone. First things first, my name is Christina Sincere. I am a career advisor here in the Career Center at American University. I've been here for about almost 6 months now, but before that, I had 5 years of career advising experience in Southeastern Virginia. So not new to career advising, but new to AU. And then I also want to welcome another staff member who's here who's going to be sharing some great information. Darnice, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Christina. Hello, everyone. I'm Darnice Samuel, and I'm the Program Manager of Job Location and Development. I serve on the Employer Relations team at the AU Career Center, and I have been at the Career Center for about 6 years now. So I've been around for a little bit, and it's been a great experience. I'm happy to chat with you all specifically about how to get internships and paid part-time opportunities.
And Darnice, being part of our employer relations team, she gets to work a lot with our employers who are interested in part-time and internships. So that's a little bit about us, but we would love to know who's here on your end. So if you wouldn't mind in the chat, sharing with us what your major, your class year, and if you know what types of internships you're interested in, we would love to kind of have that understanding. That way, I can try to adjust and tailor the information that's going to be later in this presentation as much as possible. But that just really helps us out to kind of know who's in the room, what majors are we talking to. So please, I'll give you all a second, but love to get some information in the chat. All right, we've got some Master of public policy related internships, media production, looking at production and editing. Um, let's see, okay, sociology major, education studies minor, nonprofit related things. All right. So again, feel free to keep putting information in there. It helps me be able to be more specific in what we're looking at. So please feel free to continue adding anything in there that comes to mind. So from here, um, just so you have an idea of what the workshop content is that we're going to be going over. Things to be considering as you search. I think a little pre-reflection on what it is that you need to get out of this experience. What are kind of your deal breakers, non-negotiables, absolutely need this to happen in this opportunity. It's good to think about that before you start looking. And then what you're probably mostly here for is the how to search, where to find things. We'll go over timeline of when you should be looking, some AU specific resources, as well as general things. But the thing that will probably be of most interest to you are some specifics related to this career community cluster of education, social sciences, and communication. And then some reminders about materials you probably will need for applying. But I do want to make sure that you've taken time out of your schedule to meet with us for this presentation. If there is anything specific, like I came to this workshop because I want to learn this thing, please, please, please put it in the chat. We would love to know what you were hoping to get out of this presentation. So yeah, go ahead and put that information in the chat when you have a moment, and we will make sure, to the best of our ability, to address that as we move forward. So in terms of what we hope you get out of this presentation today, an idea of when you need to be applying for certain opportunities. Timelines can vary greatly. Things can be different based on industry. I will say that right now is very much overall prime time for summer internships, but there are certain things that require a really long lead time. So making sure that that is taken into account. Places to search for the opportunities, your personal needs. A lot of people are looking for internships right now. You're a unique individual, so your unique, desires, needs, interests, like we want to make sure that you are searching for those things that are going to fulfill your career goals. And you may have been using Handshake, maybe a lot, maybe not so much, but my goal also for today is to make sure you know how to make Handshake work for you, because it is a really, really powerful platform, but sometimes we don't know how to take full advantage of it. So with that, let's see. Just checking the chat one more time to see. Education policy. Okay, so let's think about our search considerations. What do you need to get out of the experience? So before you even really start looking for the internships, one, I think it's good to have a baseline understanding of what does a good internship look like? Because not all internships are created equal, and we want to make sure, again, this is a good developmental experience. So is this experience intentional? Has it been structured? Do you have actual outlined responsibilities? We don't want you just showing up somewhere and doing whatever it is they find for you that day. That's not a good experience for you. It should help you explore your career options, see what's out there, have an understanding of your industry, and you definitely should be able to apply what you're learning, and maybe even depending on your academic department, get academic credit for potentially this internship, but at very least, definitely you should be able to apply the information from your classes in the workforce. You should have a supervisor. I know that sounds probably like elementary, but again, we don't want you just showing up and having random people telling you what to do. You should know who to go to, who's training you, who hopefully is mentoring you. Mentorship in your field is extremely important. That can be a really great question to ask if and when you get to that interview phase. What does professional development and mentorship look like for your interns? That's a really good question to be asking. This should build your network. You should be able to grow contacts, people in your industry, and again, understanding of your industry as a whole. Um, but ultimately, these things make you competitive for the job market. We want to make sure you're able to leverage your internship for bigger and better things. Internships are like stepping stones. You aren't going to go from, no experience to like the dream job, but internships and other experiential opportunities are the things that help you get there. It should be a learning environment. If you show up and they're like, you should already know how to do this, that's not a good internship to me. They should have an understanding that you're there to learn. And then at the end of your internship, you should know what you accomplished. You should have a list of things that like you are proud of and you feel like, wow, I really contributed to this organization, because that's the kind of stuff that you put on your resume that again you leverage later. So that's what a good internship overall would look like. But what does a good internship for you also consist of? So these are some things to consider before you search. I think it can be really, really helpful to have a sense of clarity on these things because you have so many things in front of you. That's, I think, one of the overwhelming things about the internship search itself is that you kind of have everything on the table right now. We got to take things off of the table because you need to focus on what is most important to you. So first things first, your career goals. Um, Sometimes it's helpful to work backwards. What is your ultimate goal in 5, 10, 20 years? So for the folks interested in policy, do you want to be running a policy organization? If you're interested in education, do you want to be a principal someday? Like what are those things that you want to be doing? Well, what are then the steps working backwards that would be ideal for getting to that point? Um, so that's just something to keep in mind. Um, Skill building. So if you're interested in production or you're interested in, video editing, there's so many different types of softwares out there that like maybe you already have a good handle on some of them, but there are other ones that you would love to gain more experience with. Maybe you see a job description where it lists all of the ones you know how to use and one that like you don't quite have a lot of experience with, but it says like have an understanding of like some of these or one of these. I mean, I think that that's a great thing to be looking for because if you have some of them already, but you know you're going to get experience with other ones, that can be a great thing to do. Then your type of work. So like the daily tasks, like if you were to go into your internship tomorrow and you had your to-do list, what would you hope is on it? What are the activities that you're actually doing? That can be helpful when you're looking at the job descriptions themselves, because if your hopes for your to-do list match the actual activities listed on the job description or are, somewhat comparable, that again is something that you may want to prioritize in your actual application process. Company environment is very important. Maybe you want to work at a massive corporation, or maybe the idea of like a small startup is really exciting for you. For our folks who mentioned nonprofits, is it one, there are some extremely large nonprofits out there. They're extremely, grassroots nonprofits. Where are you kind of leaning towards? Maybe you're open to anything. That's, again, totally fine, but worth thinking about. Your values. So every organization has a mission, a purpose, populations that they work with, or certain, especially in the policy space, right? Things that they're advocating for, making sure that those things align with your values, or that you feel good about supporting. Definitely, I think that goes with our think tanks policy. While we haven't mentioned, and this would be a different presentation, but like political related things, making sure that you're not putting yourself in an environment that you feel like goes against your values, because that's going to be a bad experience as well. And then location, maybe you're location locked. Maybe it has to be a particular city or town, or maybe you're totally open. Whatever that is, both of those things present challenges. But narrowing down, like that's going to be one of your basic search criteria, are the locations that you're looking at. And then the big thing, especially for things in um, communications, entertainment, education, nonprofits, compensation is always one of those challenging topics because there are paid internships out there in all of those fields. They may just be harder to find. So, especially in the nonprofit realm, kind of understanding that industry, it can be hit or miss. But you have to, know for yourself what is going to work for you. Do you need to be paid for your internship? Are you okay or open to doing an unpaid internship? That's up to you. But my personal stance is, and a lot of career educators feel the same way, people should get paid for their work. So I do question, and it's a fair question, like, well, why isn't this paid? Is it because they just don't have the funds because they're a nonprofit? Or this came up a lot, almost a decade ago now. It was the film and media industry that really brought about a lot of talk about unpaid internships. They just didn't want to, and that created really not inclusive environments. Things have gotten better, but it's still a challenging topic. But you know you best, but I want to bring that up. So with that, how to search. So your timeline. Start early. That is the biggest thing. Set some time aside. Understand your industry of when things get posted. Start looking numerous months in advance. So for the things in the realm of, education, social sciences, communication that we're talking about, um, I definitely think like the 6 to 9 month-ish range is probably where you would want to be. Definitely, I mean, I do think January is prime time for a lot of internships, but you will see when we get to our slides, the massive, massive corporations, especially for our entertainment types of things, they are doing a lot of their recruiting in October, November already. But that doesn't mean there's not stuff out there for what you're looking for. So make a plan, prioritize what's most important to you, and definitely be organized. I'm a big fan of a spreadsheet. Just like what have you applied for? What was the link? When did you apply? Are you following up? Have you followed up? Do you have information to follow up? Sometimes that's kind of hard. Um, but also like once you like, did you hear back at all? Like just keeping those things in line, due dates if something has a further out due date. I will say if you see it, apply for it because it may disappear. You never know. Um, but I would start out with the searching an hour or two to start. There is a line that you eventually hit where you've spent too much time. You start seeing the same things over and over and over again. So 1 to 2 hours to start, and then per week, I would say, of searching, and then the actual applications, those are going to take their own time in making sure those are prepped. Definitely set up saved searches on websites. If that's an option, on Handshake it is. I will show you what that looks like in a little bit. Um, and the last thing is kind of there's no perfect science for it, but in general, like let's say maybe you're thinking of, okay, well, I'm looking for a summer internship now, but I want something for the fall. Um, Usually May is when things start to get posted. June, sometimes organizations need to get through that initial summer starting the summer intern push. But that's just something to be aware of. And then if you're looking for a spring internship, um, starting somewhere around late September is usually a good idea. Um, I do think that it's a good idea in general to just always kind of have feelers out. You don't want to miss out on opportunities, and that's where the saved search for certain things can really come in handy. All right, so as you're searching, you have to pick search terms, and sometimes there's easy, direct words that just make sense, and other times you're struggling to figure out, well, what words do I use? So these are some categories that I think might be helpful as you are searching, because if someone, for instance, was in psychology internship, usually a lot of that type of stuff doesn't really come up. It goes along with what are you doing in the internship. So my categories to kind of think of and brainstorm words, things that are directly related to your major, if applicable. So definitely the public policy for our policy folks. That pretty direct, makes sense. Government relations may also be something that you want to look at and think about. Um, and then for our folks that are looking at kind of communication, production, those sorts of things, media, and then obviously if there were any journalism folks in the room, that major is very directly correlated to the names of a lot of positions. But then it could be, what are you doing in the internship? So are you editing? Are you um, shooting video? Are you writing up a marketing plan? Are you doing education coordination? Are you researching policy? So those are things to think about. And then finally, what are the skills or technology that you're using? So data visualization, especially if you're writing a lot of reports or doing things for policy research, you may need to do data visualization. So that's just something to be aware of. Or if you're doing really specific research, maybe it's using SPSS. That may not be in the title, but it will probably be in the job description. So that's just something to be aware of. All right, where to search. I'm not going to go into super extensive stuff about Handshake because we're going to look at it. Getting inspiration from AU We Know Success. We have a website where we have information collected from all of like who are the organizations students have gotten academic credit for interning at before. So we'll show that in a little bit. Your majors or departments, especially if you're undergrad. For our master's students, I believe you have access to different things as well. On your Canvas site, you probably have some sort of career resources Canvas that will have resources there for you. Networking. So I know that that word can be nerve-wracking, but just start with your friends, your mentors, people you have really strong relationships with, and talk with them about like, hey, I'm interested in this type of stuff. Do you have any advice for me? Like casual, start out that way. Do you know anyone who maybe I should talk to, especially your professors? and hopefully they can give you some suggestions and continue to make connections that way. We do have Alumni Fire, which is like a mini LinkedIn for AU alums. And then obviously LinkedIn, that's a much longer conversation. We'd be happy to have an appointment with you to talk about how to network through these platforms. Um, but as we've gotten to these slides, you may notice that I have these underlined words. They're bright hot pink. All of these are live links. So you will get this presentation in a follow-up. In the coming days, so you would be able to click on these items and go directly to them. But this kind of brings me to our special guest who's here and who's been helping me so nicely with all of the tech stuff. But I'm really excited for Darnice Samuel to talk with you from the AU Career Center Employer Relations team. So welcome, Darnice.
Thank you again, Christina. All right, excuse me. So we're getting a little bit more into how you as an AU student can connect with employers right here at AU. The Career Center, we offer a variety of different programs that, again, provide you that opportunity to network and make new connections. So we're just going to go through that list, and we encourage you to continue to check Handshake for these opportunities as they populate throughout the semester. So some of the ways that you can connect are through a variety of campus events. I'll start off with the first being our employer meetups. Employer meetups are essentially a 1 hour information session where you would come in, the employers would typically give about a 30-minute presentation, PowerPoint presentation, and then transition to Q&A, where you as a student can ask any questions that you may have for the employers. These are just great opportunities, again, to connect in person or virtually. So we do offer them in both in-person, virtual, or hybrid settings. And just, again, a great opportunity to learn about the organization and hear about the opportunities that they're offering in a formal setting. In the past, some employers that I can think of off the top of my head that we've hosted that may be relevant to this field here, we have Paramount, Warner Brothers Discovery, Politico, and so forth, and a variety of different nonprofits. So again, one great opportunity to connect. Secondly, another recruiting opportunity that we offer is our Employer in Residence program, which is a informational one-on-one chat where you have your own time to communicate with the employer, again, in a one-on-one setting. These are also offered virtually or in person at our Career Center office. And these sessions are typically about 20 minutes long, so they can be quick, but again, a great opportunity to get that one-on-one time with an employer that may be of interest to you. Thirdly, before I move on, the employer in residence sessions are highly competitive. So when they do open, the slots do typically open 2 weeks before the date that the employer will be on campus. So when you see those listed on Handshake, we encourage you to save that date on your calendar, that opening date where the sessions do open at 9 a.m. 2 weeks prior to the date the employer will be on campus. Thirdly is our employer pop-up tables program, where employers come to AU and host a table in the MGC Mary Graydon Center Student Center. And this is where employers will kind of informally engage with students. Again, at a table, they're set up and will engage with students as you all are walking by in the Mary Graydon Center. And they often have swag, pamphlets, and such that they pass out to you and can connect with you one-on-one in that manner. And the employer pop-up tables are typically on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Fourthly, another recruitment opportunity offered through our office are networking receptions. And these are high tables set up, typically hosted in Constitution Hall, where we have a variety of different employers from specific industries. So these networking receptions are typically industry-based, and we typically host about 1 to 2 per semester. One networking reception that I would like to highlight that's happening this spring is our advocacy, policy, and legislation networking reception, which will take place on February 20th, again in Constitution Hall. So for those policy majors or those interested in policy on the call today, highly recommend that you register and sign up for that reception. And lastly, is our job and internship fairs, which we host annually, one in the spring semester and one in the fall. So we do have our upcoming spring, fall, and job internship fair. I'm sorry, excuse me, our spring job and internship fair on Wednesday, March 27th from 1 to 4 p.m. And this fair will be hosted virtually on Handshake this year. So we encourage you to mark your calendars. Registration will open on March 6th for that event. Again, this is one of our biggest events of the year, and we encourage all of our students to attend as we have a large variety of employers that do take part in this fair.
Mhm.
While I'm on the topic of fairs, I would also like to promote the Government Education and Nonprofit Fair that is happening on February 9th. So that is a Friday. This fair will be hosted virtually as well, but I believe that that fair will also have a lot of relevant employers for the students that are on the call today. I know I'm mentioning a lot of events coming up. I do have a PDF that I will put in the chat, and we'll also follow up after this presentation that will have direct links to all of these events coming up. Next
Awesome.
slide.
Yeah.
Thank you. So now we will move forward to additional resources that you as an AU student has access to through the Career Center office. So I will first start off with Go Government Federal Internship Finder, which is a website offered through the Partnership for Public Service. And this is a great tool resource to use to specifically find internships that are offered through the federal government. You can simply go on, and it's linked here on the presentation that you'll receive later. When you click that link, it'll open up. You can filter based on your desires, career fields. So if you're interested in policy, you can filter with policy. If you're interested in media and so forth, you can filter that way. And there's such a wide variety of opportunities on this platform. So we highly encourage you to use that as a resource. And it's a great way to get your foot in the door in the federal government if that's something that you choose to do. Parker Dewey is another resource offered through our office. Through this platform, you can primarily find micro internships. And micro internships are short-term paid projects that are assigned to students through different employer partners with Parker Dewey. And the projects can range from a couple of hours to a couple of weeks that you could be working on these projects or assignments. And again, this is just another tool as a great foot in the door. If you're trying to figure out what you might be interested in, that could be a great way to try out different projects and see if something stands out to you. And again, through this platform, it's a wide variety of projects that you can work on, from data analysis to editing, graphic design, and so forth. So as an AU student, you do have access to create a AU specific account through Parker Dewey and apply away. Thirdly is our part-time jobs near campus map, which is a resource that lives on Handshake. So under the resources tab on Handshake, you can find this local map that highlights the different local businesses and companies within the Tinleytown area, Friendship Heights, Spring Valley, and so forth. And we're steering a little bit away from the internship umbrella here. We're moving on to the part-time jobs that you can potentially secure maybe while you're trying to figure out your internship search. These are other ways that you can make quick money. And again, there's a lot of employers within the area that are hiring all year round. So you can use that resource as a way to find the different employers that are near campus that you might be able to work for. And then last but not least is Quad Jobs. AU has a partnership with Quad Jobs, and through Quad Jobs, you will find many local short-term gigs and part-time work. Again, these could be great foot in the doors that could lead to potential internships or just quick buck jobs that you can use while still looking for those full-time and internship jobs that you're trying to apply for. And through Quad Jobs, you can either use their web page or they have a Quad Jobs app that you can download on your phone to easily access opportunities. And these can range from dog walking to tutoring to babysitting and so forth. So
And
again, we
oh, go
no, you
ahead. Sorry,
feel free
Darnice.
to jump in. Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, you never know who you're gonna be house sitting for,
Yes,
right? Like you have a great experience, they really like you. Oh, they actually work for, such and such place. Who knows? Again, that's a never guaranteed thing, but if you are looking for just like Dernie said, a quick money for taking care of bills, whatever it is, you never know what could happen.
that is a great point. Thank you, Christina. You never know who you might come across. So again, these are all great resources that you can use to find part-time work or internships. So we highly encourage you to look into these resources. And I will kick it back to you, Christina.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Darnice. All right. So, this brings us to, I want to get really into the more specific things for you all, but I want you to know kind of what some of these general places are that you can also go. I think we're familiar with, of course, LinkedIn and Indeed. Those come up a lot when I'm talking with students. I actually really like Glassdoor because not only with Glassdoor do they, yes, post jobs, but there's so much information about the company itself. You have employer reviews that like are not edited. It is the actual employee review of the company, the organization, so you get an idea of like would I actually want to work there. Sometimes there's information on potential interview questions people experienced during their interview process. So I don't think Glassdoor gets enough love, but I do like it. It also provides salary information. It's a great way to kind of compare and look at salary info if you're not sure is this internship at this organization, if it's on the larger end, tiny organizations probably aren't going to be on Glassdoor, but the larger ones will. And if you're not sure, like, ballpark, what is this going to pay? Hopefully there will be salary information to give you an idea of what that looks like if you have that question. Um, for our any government policy folks, USA Jobs is where pretty much all federal employment lives. So that's something good to know for our folks from communications who are interested in media. Media Bistro is a good overall general media entertainment site. I believe I have that pulled up for later. And then our nonprofit folks Idealist. If you're not using Idealist, I highly encourage you to incorporate that into the different search platforms that you're using because it is specifically for the nonprofit industry. All right. So other places potentially you could look. I'm trying to think if any of this stuff is like super, super relevant, like the first two. Maybe if you are in a location locked area where you're just trying to see what is out there, I do think looking at chambers of commerce can be a good idea. You never know what a business might need services for. So it could fit your niche. If you are interested in like arts, culture, those sorts of things, identifying organizations through a city's tourism website is kind of an interesting hack to see what's out there and then going direct to those organizations. But definitely for like large corporations like your Paramounts or NBC Universal, like those sorts of things, they either have their social media platforms in general will share out information. Some of them even have like NBC Careers, like an actual social media like channel just for promoting jobs, what it's like to work at these organizations. So I would definitely follow them on social media. And then your professional association websites. Who are the people kind of governing best practices in your field? Quite often, they will also have platforms where they post jobs for their members. So this brings us to we're not doing science, tech, engineering, and math. We are doing education, social sciences, and communication today. But for our folks who are in the entertainment realm, I will also be opening up some things for entertainment-related organizations. Those links are going to live, though, on our humanities, languages, and arts. I kind of fit that under the arts area of things. But you will get this whole presentation, so you will have all of these links. So for our policy folks, you may want to look at some of these things on the government public affairs slide, for instance. But we're going to focus in on mostly these things, but I am going to try to hit on people's specific interests. So uh, I want to show you these things rather than just tell you about them. So we're gonna actually move to the websites in just a moment. But I did want to point out some of these organizations of interest. Because we don't have time, obviously, to go through all of them. But I do think that looking at for instance, the NGO base, so a lot of these organizations of interest are either going to be organizations that have an internship program that we just kind of think is cool and want you to know about. And some of them are directories. So like the Open Think Tank directory or NGO base for our public policy folks, like you want to identify what are the organizations that interact with the topics that I want to be doing public policy on. Like you want to go there and identify those things and utilize these directories. Maybe you're interested in social justice topics and you want to look at nonprofits specifically related to social justice. We have a directory there for that. So our nonprofit folks in the room, if that's of interest. So anyway, just kind of wanted to put that out there. If there are, I don't know if any PR folks came in, during the presentation, but we have the O'Dwyer's PR directory. So you can look up any, PR, agency that you would like to kind of see like, okay, do I go direct to them to find out more? But what we're going to go ahead and do is kind of look at these search sites and associations and how can you utilize these to their fullest. I'm also going to let me now go ahead and go to where I set this up. I am also going to open for our folks who are interested in production and media in the room. I want to have Media Bistro open. Oh, I think I might have, yep, I did have that open already. And then I want to have, of course, I am just uh, mm, having a moment. Sorry about that. I want to get this entertainment careers one open. Let me copy the link. I closed the presentation because yeah. Sorry about that. But I also want to have entertainmentcareers.net open because that's also going to be a great place to be looking for entertainment production related things. But I want to start with, are you using Handshake to its fullest? So we're going to do this lightning fast because I know we are entering the last quarter of our time together today. But when we look at the job area of Handshake, um, thinking, making sure, right, that you are utilizing the filters to the best of your ability. So for instance, like if we go to all filters over here, there's a lot of different stuff that could be over here. We are still going to keep it pretty basic. We're going to keep it to internship, But there are a couple other things that maybe, especially for our graduate students in the room, I'm going to go over here to more. And I would also click off experiential learning and fellowship. Because sometimes, especially for policy related things, they love calling them fellowships. And then when they go to put them into Handshake, they don't label them as an internship. They label them as fellowship. So we're going to go ahead and go with those three for right now. And I'm really just interested in seeing what the paid stuff is. The other thing, if you start running into things where it says it's paid, but then in the description, for whatever reason, it's like, this is an unpaid opportunity. Red flag, one. But also, uh, I mean, I feel like let us know that. Like that's a very weird thing to be happening. But that is the organization. We do try to make sure that everything is on the up and up, but if that you see that, please let us know. Something you can do to avoid that and know how much the like range is includes estimated pay. Because sometimes they'll label paid, but then they don't actually put the amount. So is it a stipend? Is it an hourly? Is it, how much is it really going to be? So that narrowed it down from like 8,000 things to 5,000. So again, something to be aware of. I'm actually going to remove this just because I want to see as many things as possible. But yeah, that took about 2,000 things out. Location wise, let's say we want to be in New York City this summer. Just for an example, 50 miles, way too big of a radius for that. So I'm actually going to bring this down to 10. You can make it smaller, you can make it larger, whatever, but please definitely adjust this distance because that is going to be important. So now I know there are 606 paid internship-ish things in New York posted at this time that I can see. And ultimately now it's those search terms. So if I want public policy, that's pretty basic. You could get more specific with it. What type of policy? Education policy? Is it, you know, health policy? Whatever that interest is, feel free to get more specific. But now we have 47 public policy related things within 10 miles of New York City. So that's where we want to get more specific within things, and you'll have to look through and see what works for you. But now it's a matter of, oh no, I have to log into Handshake every single like week or every few days and do this over and over and over again. Well, if you save your search, Handshake's going to do the work for you. So let's go ahead and don't miss out. Save your search. It'll make a job notification, but immediately hit edit your notifications. That way you can title this whatever you want. You can decide how you're notified. Do you want a text message? In-app is only good if you're actually going to log in to see it. So I don't usually click that one. And then there's email, and you get to decide, do you know that day something is posted, or do you get a weekly roundup? Um, that is up to you, however you feel about that. If this was a lower number, I might say daily, but a weekly roundup probably wouldn't be bad. If it was a super, super high number of things, it just kind of depends how you feel about it. But so I save that, then I have that, and now Handshake's doing the work for me. So I highly encourage you to make 3 to 5 saved searches in Handshake to help the system learn what you like, but also try to make your search even easier for yourself. All right, so we're going to move on to some different things. I do want to check and see. Okay, so I saw something in the chat and I was like, nope, that's the item that you put in there, Darnie. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. All right. So idealist for our nonprofit folks, but honestly, their nonprofits do everything. So they could be looking for someone to do video editing. They could be looking for someone to do policy research. Like it all depends. So using and figuring out your search terms again, super, super important. But if I want to look, I already have it set to Washington, D.C., but I can choose internships and I hit search. Just in general, there's 66 things right now posted for the Washington, D.C. area in internships, obviously narrowing things down. So again, let's try policy. And see 36. There's still 36 policy related things in the DC area. But again, you can pick whatever city, town, metropolitan area you want to that is home for you or where you could see yourself for the summer. Um, so definitely I encourage you to utilize Idealist. We have our Media Bistro site. So, finding a creative job, view all creative jobs. Again, we gotta use our search terms. So I am gonna go ahead and use video editing. So we're gonna go skill based on this one. What is the skill? And then let's say Los Angeles. Um, is it gonna auto-populate for me? No, it is not. Um, I think that's right. Yes. All right. So, now as I scroll through and look, so there's two different scrolling things. The one on the outside is going to be the things to the left where you actually get to look through the different opportunities. So again, there could be a wide variety of things. You are able to create a job alert. I don't know if okay, so you can choose job type. So if I also wanted to like filter by production, okay, I got too specific. So that's something that can happen, is that we get too specific with our filters and then we don't see anything. So that's just something you got to play with it. It's not a perfect science, unfortunately. Um, you all didn't ask about this, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time here, but let's say you wanted to do some sort of social science-y based or policy like based research. While it says pathways to science, there are things that could be related more on the social science end of things. So you could pick the type of content area that you're interested in. So as you scroll down, we have different things. So there is actually research related to arts and media in here. We've got business related stuff, but we also have our education, social sciences. So this has a lot of things like overall general communication, education. So that's just something to be aware of is research, policy as well here. Research happens in every single type of area of interest. So not saying you have to, but if you've ever thought like, oh, it would be really cool to do research, but that's focused on a creative field, it exists. It may be a smaller pool of things, but it is there. Similar to the National Science Foundation, REU, they also have a bunch of different categories. At the bottom, we do have our social, behavioral, and economics there. Um, I'm not going to worry about the American Psychological Association. I don't think anybody really brought that up. Education wise, if folks had been interested in like K through 12 education, I always say if you're really, really early on, that like summer camp things for like first year, second year students is a great way to learn about whether you really like working with kids. Um, The Society of Professional Journalists. So again, our communications, editing related things, as you scroll down, we actually have all of these different job organizations. So, or organizations that like post through the Society of Professional Journalists. So maybe you're interested in broadcast stuff. It does go to like CBS and other places, but a lot of the broadcast related things, if that's of interest to you. We also have our Media Bistro hanging out here, but a lot of different things in here. So that goes directly to a bunch of job boards. So I would definitely check that out. And then finally for today, we have our entertainmentcareers.net internships area. Right now, they have 369 entertainment creative based internships out there. You can filter by location. And like if you click location, then it will start putting it in alphabetical order. So that's kind of the best way to filter this. That is the one thing I find frustrating about this website. Filtering is not easy. But anyway, those are kind of some of the specific things that you can utilize. All of this stuff is going to be available to you in the coming days. Um, but to wrap it up, because we are down to the wire, what are you going to need to apply? Definitely a resume. We can help you with that in an appointment. You're going to probably need references, so that's people who will speak well on your behalf. So identifying 3 to 4 people that someone can contact. But then in terms of what you might need to apply, a cover letter. Again, we can teach you how to write that if you're not familiar with it. For our policy folks, writing samples, research papers, you may need to select something to share. For our production, editing, video folks, having that portfolio or professional website could be really important. And then every once in a while, definitely in government related things really like them, letters of recommendation. So this is actually someone taking the time to write a letter on your behalf endorsing you for the role. So that kind of ends our time together. I know we came up right up to the wire. I'm happy to hang out for a little bit and answer any questions that people have. But if you need further help, make an appointment. We'd love to talk with you. Make an appointment on Handshake, and we can talk further. Or if you'd like to stop by for 10 or 15 minutes to our drop-ins, Monday through Friday, we are in person in Bender Library from 2 to 3 on the first floor. And then we actually are doing virtual drop-ins from 5 to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you can follow us on Instagram for more information or LinkedIn as well.